At the start of summer there were plenty of gaps to fill, and then Darren Fletcher's shock exit to Stoke City gave Tony Pulis and the board another headache. In the final throes of pre-season, a series of niggling injuries exposed just how perilously thin the squad was. A week before the season Pulis barely had 11 fit senior players, now he has 2 for every position. Suddenly there is competition for places all over the pitch, and the average age has been lowered significantly. Excluding the commercial acquisition of Zhang Yuning, 6 players arrived for a combined total of around £40 million, which is incredibly shrewd business in a window defined by inflated fees and collapsing deals. Jonas Olsson has been replaced like for like with another warrior at the back, and Ahmed Higazi is already on his way to cult hero status. His try before you buy loan, which is costing Albion £875,000 for the season, was described as the perfect deal by Pulis. You can see why. Albion can make it permanent next summer for £3.5 million if it works out, a snip in today's market. Fletcher has been replaced by Gareth Barry, who may be 36 but has proved his class already. Monumental in the final half of his debut at Burnley, he was man of the match in his first match at the Hawthorns and adds composure on the ball in midfield. And all for just £1 million. Those replacements were musts, but doing them so cheaply allowed Pulis to get in the extra bodies he needed. On top of those 2 deals, HES brought in a forward, a winger, a midfielder, and a defender. The squad has been strengthened from back to front. Nearly every box has been ticked. Jay Rodriguez, who already has 2 goals from his first 4 games, appears to have added that crucial threat from open play that has been missing for the past 2 seasons. Oliver Burke may be a signing for the future, but the 20-year-old is an exciting prospect with all the makings of a powerful and pacey Premier League winger. Last season, Albion struggled to cop without Matt Phillips, but Burke is the perfect understudy, a young and hungry winger with raw attributes that can be honed in time to fit in with Pulis' counter-attacking style. Grzegorz Krychowiak is the standout arrival of the summer, a cultured defensive midfielder who cost Paris Saint-Germain the best part of £30 million 12 months ago. Albion may be picking up his £108,000 a week wages, but for £5 million this year, he could be worth every penny. As much as anything else, Kieran Gibbs' arrival from Arsenal is a signifier of just how successful the window has been. Although Pulis wanted to plug the gap at left-back, HES proved over the past 2 years that it was not his priority. Because Chris Brunt and Alan Nyom are capable of playing there, getting a specialised left-back was almost deemed a luxury when other areas of the pitch required surgery. Gibbs' arrival is also an example of the way Pulis and the board have adapted to the market and spread their money around shrewdly. Supporters get frustrated when business isn't done early, but Albion have benefited this summer from waiting on certain deals and pouncing on changing conditions. A week before the window shut it looked like Joseph de Sousa was going to be the final arrival after a £10.6 million fee was agreed with Fenerbahce. But then Gibbs' deal with Watford fell through and Krychowiak became available. Instead of spending £10 million on one player, Pulis split his remaining funds and got in 2. Albion had walked away from Arsenal earlier in the summer when they demanded £12 million for Gibbs, and then they ended up getting him for £5 million, rising to £7 million. Chairman John Williams deserves plenty of praise in all this. It's clear HES worked alongside Pulis to strike for targets at exactly the right moment. Pulis, too, deserves acknowledgement for changing tack and straying out of his British-based comfort zone. Not only did he sign Higazi and Krychowiak, but he was willing to chase de Sousa too. The head coach also adapted to what he saw on the pitch. Next year, the transfer window will shut before the season starts, but Pulis has benefited from seeing Higazi and Craig Dawson in partnership at the heart of defence. Convinced by their performances, and unable to meet the fees quoted for the centre-backs he wanted, he moved the goalposts. Instead of buying Ben Gibson and Mamadou Sakho for £30 million, Albion got Gibbs in at left-back for a fraction of the price, freeing up Nyom to play right-back and Dawson to play centre-back. With Gareth McAuley currently sidelined, the heart of defence is the only area that looks potentially thin, but if injuries get really bad, Krychowiak and Jake Livermore can also fill in there. Just like centre-backs, this summer, the centre-forwards Pulis wanted were too expensive. So Albion didn't buy either and strengthened elsewhere instead. Rodriguez may be best coming in off the left, but he can also do a fine job up front, and hopefully Salomon Rondon will be buoyed by having better players behind him. Some of the best news from the transfer window came on deadline day when it became apparent in-demand skipper Johnny Evans was staying. Despite the endless briefings coming out of Manchester City, Pep Guardiola never returned with another offer after their initial £18 million bid was rejected a fortnight before the window shut. Albion were willing to sell to City if their £30 million valuation was met and a replacement could be found, but they were never going to ratify a sideways move to Leicester, and Evans was nowhere near as keen to join Arsenal as he was City. In the end, the three-way tug-of-war ended before it even began. How Palace reintegrates Evans and Nacer Chadli into the squad will be interesting. Evans is his club captain, and does not strike anyone as the sort of character to throw his toys out of the pram. He will probably be back in the heart of defence soon enough. Chadli, though, is a different kettle of fish. The record-signing HASNT played a single minute of Premier League football since refusing to go to Austria for pre-season, and Palace now has a wealth of midfielders at his disposal, although the majority do not play as far forward as him. He may struggle to get back into the team, and it wouldn't be surprising if both he and Evans were the subject of more interest come January. Another sign of how successful this window has been is the number of youngsters who have been sent out on loan. 12 youth team players in total are now plying their trade at lower league clubs, and there have been brilliant deals for Jonathan Lako, who's joined Championship side Bristol City, and Rekeem Harper, who's at Blackburn Rovers in League One. Sam Field had a whole host of Championship clubs interested but was kept back to fight for a first-team place. With Bari, Krikowiak, Livermore and Claudio Jacob in the squad, the 19-year-old may find it difficult, but it shows how highly he's thought of. That is arguably the only questionable decision during a successful summer, which even managed to see Callum McManaman finally offloaded. It would be dangerous to get carried away, of course, and signings should really be judged after they've actually played some games. It's worth remembering last summer's business looked slightly underwhelming in paper, but turned out to be positive in the end, with Phillips, Nyom, and Hal Robson-Garnu all proving shrewd acquisitions. But this window does appear to have outstripped that one. The purse strings have been loosened a little, but the spending has not been outlandish. Albion may be at the limit of what financial fair play will allow them to spend on wages, but they have not dangerously overstretched. Shrewd acquisitions have been made and the early signs are promising. Those new faces that have already played look good. Now it's over to Palace to get the maximum out of this team. Although a top 7 finish is still unlikely, cementing the club's position in the top half has to be the target. With this squad, that looks eminently possible.